Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only. I am not to be held responsible if you break your model trains. This video is not for kids. Sorry for the inconvenience. DLMW 664 Productions. Sorry about the disclaimer. Anyways, DLMW 664 Productions here, and today I am going to be showing you how to maintain and oil your Lionel passenger cars, freight cars, and steam locomotives. So anyways, let's get on with the show. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to be cleaning is the passenger car. Step 1 is to turn the passenger car over. There's really not much by the means of on the inside of these cars. So what I could do is I could take my Q-tip and just spin the wheels with my finger, any finger really, until you get some sort of grime coming off the wheels. Now this car in particular is actually quite clean. I'm kind of shocked by that. There's not really a lot of buildup, so I'm able to just spin the wheels around once or twice and they're good. But you do this process for just about every single car. That excludes when you come to the locomotive. Now, for cars with pickup rollers, such as this passenger car, what you do is you rotate the pickup roller in a similar way you'd rotate the wheels, but you have the Q-tip on the surface area where it comes in contact with track, and it cleans. For the other side, with the, I believe that would be your negative current to the outer rails, or ground, you do the same thing, except for this, you would have it on the axle where the, I really don't know what to call this, but for now we'll call it the springy thing. Where the springy thing comes in contact with the axle, you just rotate this, just like so, and it should in theory clean off some of the crap that's gathered up on it. Now, for say there were heavy gunk on this, what you would use is a flathead screwdriver, such as the one I'm holding now, and scrape. You could scrape like this, or what I found to be most effective, rotate the wheel like you're cleaning it with the Q-tip, and hold the screwdriver up to it. Anyways, the next step you would have is to flip it over and use oil. I'm using Woodland Scenics oil, but you could use any hobby oil. And away goes the cap. I'll get that later. But just like that, just a tiny amount should suffice. A little more. And then you would do this for all axles. In the area where the axle and the wheel are close to the side frames, you would oil right about in there where the journal boxes are. And you would do the same thing to the other side. Now what I find helps make the cars a little quieter is actually to give the pickup rollers a tiny little dab of oil right on the sides. It won't affect the electrical pickup, but it will make the car run smoother and quieter. So, anyways, on to the next car. The next thing I'll show you how to clean is the box car. You use the same tools to clean this as the passenger car. Your flathead screwdriver, and your Q-tip. So again, this one appears not to be super dirty, which is actually surprising me again. But what you do is you again spin the wheel, and it should come off at about that color. These Lionel cars are notorious for getting themselves dirty. So I'm going to cut out the rest of this, but what you would essentially do is you would hold the Q-tip up to the wheel and spin the wheel, such as if you were spinning the wheel on the passenger coach. Now that I'm done cleaning off the wheels, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to oil it. So you take it, and just like the passenger car, you put a little bit of oil in between the space with the side frame and the wheel. You do that for all 4 axles, and then you give the wheels a spin. That gets the oil in the wheels. Now it's nice and quiet. Anyways, let's get on to the fun part, the locomotive. Alright, the last thing I'm going to be doing is the locomotive. Now, before I start taking this apart or doing the first step, I'm going to let you know, make sure you have the instructions. If not, you could likely find them online. They're really not that hard. You could go on the Lionel website. Normally they have a backup, but it tells you where to oil them, what to use, whether it be grease or oil, and all sorts of other little functions of the engine. So I'm going to have this sitting off in the background while I flip Chessie over to open her up. So let's get to it. Now the step to actually getting to the engine to lubricate it is to unscrew this part, and that will give you access to the motor. And you take this little fitting off if it wants to come off. Of course. There we go. Now you have everything off, and out it comes. And that's your rear truck assembly. Now you have a very large 480. Now, you take the center screw out, and that's the only screw that needs to come out. And now you got your pull in here. It's quite a large engine. It has quite a large Pullmer motor. So there's a couple places this needs to be lubricated. Those places would be right up in here. And one right back. What is this? Alright, that's glue. And one right back here. Alright, I'll drip that oil down. Now, there you go. One lubricated Pullmer motor. Now, you basically reverse engineer it to put it back together. Plate goes on. Screw then follows. You could start it in by hand or put it in with a screwdriver. Then this. And that's upside down. So be it. Spring. These parts. The rear truck assembly. And there you have it. Now, one thing Lionel recommends is to put some lubricant on this for when you screw it in. It should, in theory, make it easier to come out. I'm using my Lionel lubrication grease that I have left. I'm just going to smear it around the threading of the screw. You then take that, put it back in, and hopefully you have better luck than I am with parts going everywhere and anywhere. There we go, that's on. Then you take this little fitting and you put it just like so. And seeing as it doesn't want to go on, I'm taking my trusty pliers and making it go on. Just like so. The next step will be oiling and greasing the running gear. Now, grease won't really be required. The only thing that required the grease was that screw that's back here. The rest of the stuff you could hit up with your trusty oil. Whatever oil you use depends on what scale you have or whatever your personal preference is. For this O scale, I'm using Hobby Lube light oil. And I'm just lubricating here. And this should, in theory, help the engine just go a little bit smoother. I'm going to lubricate the pickup rollers a little bit. Here, here, and here. That should stop with a grinding sound. It shouldn't sound like it's grinding anymore. Nice and smooth. Work it in there. There we go. And as usual, take your Q-tip and clean off the wheels. Now with these steam engines, there is a crankshaft right up in here that you're able to turn so that you don't have to put the locomotive on track to actually turn the gears, which would in turn move the wheels. You could also take it in from the top and get to add it that way. And you would repeat the whole process for the other side. Alright, so oil got into these compartments, but oil also needs to get into the trailing truck. So what it says to do is oil the axles like you would oil a freight or passenger car that I showed you how to do earlier in this video. Do that. There we go. I'm going to pick it up a little bit so that it's a little smoother. And there we go. Nice and smooth. Now cleaning just about everything on this model off, except for the oil. That we want to stay. And after you are done repairing these models and maintaining them, they should last you for quite a while. But just be sure to regularly maintain them. If you store them in boxes for the Christmas season, you should lubricate them before you take them out of the boxes as it requests you do. That will help your model run just a tiny bit better. You clean the wheels off, just like you'd clean the passenger wheels off. And since it's quite the same, and I already showed you it more than one occasion, I'll skip over this part. But you would basically do it the same exact way. Clean, 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 clean. Alright, one last thing that you're going to want to do, especially to a steam engine with a lot of valve gear functioning, is you're going to want to oil the valve gear. A little bit here, a little bit up in here, some here, and around the bolts. The engines definitely will greatly appreciate this. And you would do the same exact thing to the other side. Alright, now the final part, testing everything out. I hit every single car in this consist up with oil, I hit the Strasbourg up with oil, and all the cars in the sidings up with oil. So everything should be nice and quiet. I'll get this started, and here we go. Alright, now seeing as that everything is quiet, let's get in a cool shot before I end this video. Anyways, for now, this is Dion W664 Productions, signing off.